you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order. Hey everybody, welcome to Nexus at Night, weekly Vanguard podcast. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And today we're talking about... Do I have to?
We don't have to. We can stop right now.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so...
You want to talk about trial deck prices instead?
No, I don't.
I definitely do not.
So, we've made fun of things like Touken Ranbu,
we can't avoid all of them.
Bang Dream, Shaman King. These are like technically clans in the world of Vanguard.
We didn't even talk about Hello Happy World, which was like an almost real Bang Dream deck.
Yeah. Because most of the time they don't top. But
that's true.
But then something happened and they topped.
Yeah, I blame Toronto.
In
yeah,
particular,
Canada.
Yeah, in particular it's what is it?
Yeah, so we
Shaman
saw
King.
Yeah, we saw some Shaman King in the BRO, I think, in one particular match. But in the top 8 of Toronto, there were 2 of them. Yep. One was Yo Asakura, and the other one was Tao Ren, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that character? Yeah.
Sure. I haven't watched Shaman King since the original one.
I haven't seen Shaman King at all, so
Me neither.
I don't know who these people are.
Because this is a clan we've never covered ever, we should probably say what the clan does, which is not something I thought we'd be doing.
Okay, so let's start with the 2 cards we got here. So let's start with the TD card, Yo Asakura. Mm-hmm. So this looks like a main character guy, so I'm gonna assume this is a main character, because he's on the TD also. So they all have these oversoul abilities that have usually related to some unit. And this card, in this case, it's Amidamaru. You put a rear guard with that card name into your soul, draw a card, and this gets all your front row units to power plus 5,000. And then when it attacks, if your damage zone has 4 more cards, you can counter plus 1, get crit plus 1. So this card seems like it. I don't think this card matters at all.
It seems very limit break-esque.
Right. So, and let's see what this other card. Wait, which I need. Oh, I need any one of these. Oh, it's this guy.
Legendary Samurai Amidamaru.
Yeah,
right?
So this is the pair unit, I suppose.
Okay.
This is one of them, but it seems like there's a couple zeros as well. I don't know how. Oh, they're triggers, so you can shove triggers into soul for the effect. Interesting. That's actually not a bad use of draw triggers. However, this effect is not fantastic for the cost, right? I guess on a Persona ride, it's plus 15k, but I don't know. So sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, none of this seems especially remarkable. What's the deal?
So I think at least from my so they printed it in the original set was this card, Goddess of Victory, Ana Kyoyama, and basically if you have when attack with Vanguard of your Yo Asakura Vanguard does not hit, you can stand it and give it drive -1. So you see like a picture being put together now. So this is an incredibly important card to the deck, right?
Yeah.
So now this card, this Anna girl, if she's in play, you can also play this order, this Blitz order, that if you have a unit with Anna and its card name, you can choose 2 of your opponent's units and their power becomes 0.
Wow. Okay, now we're talking. That's,
yeah, so we have this kind of deck that relies on keeping this card on field. So we've unlocked both a potential strength of the deck and a huge weakness of the deck, right? If you can point at this thing and shoot it, it's less than ideal, right?
Deck falls
or if
apart,
they can't keep this thing on field. So they also play a lot of cards that kind of like try to recoup this card over and over again. So let me see if is it this card? No, it's a different card. There's another different Faust card. I have the wrong one here.
And for people asking, like, well, for people listening on your podcast app, what card are they talking about? They're not saying the full names. It kind of does not matter because
yeah, there's one particular Faust card I'm looking for. It might be in the second set. I'll double check. But basically, it's a card that allows them to revive the. Sorry, I'm looking for it. Wait, I hate it when you're about to click on something on a web page,
and everything,
and then everything shifts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, it is in the second set. So
is it the triple R here that I'm trying to click on? Yes, this is it. So it says when it's placed on rear, if you have a Vanguard with Asakura or a wooden sword, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can counterblast one, choose a Shaman with greater or less or equal to your Vanguard from drop and call it to rear. Okay, and if we see... Where's that girl at again?
Anna Karenina. Her name is, yeah.
Shaman, convenient Shaman card that we can call with with this Faust person. So yeah, so this is kind of a really huge boon that the deck got in set 2 that allows them to kind of, play additional copies of this Ana. This card by itself is probably not something you want to play 4 of, and I don't think the list that top was playing 4 of it. I think they were playing 2, okay. But they were playing 4 Ana for sure.
Right.
And then the other card is the triple R from the first set. When it attacks, it gets 2k until end of battle for each card in your damage zone. So it could be 18k beater on grade 2, which is pretty good if you're at 4 damage, say. And when it is attacked, you can Soul Blast 1, and if at the end of the battle, it won't retire even if it's hit. So you can kind of trade soul for attacks on this regard. So it's you can't attack on this is basically just a Soul Blast.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it just keeps saying it's on board. So if they attack. Now we talked about the original Yo Asakura and it not being that stellar, but there is a different one.
That's interesting that they have something that lets you pay the cost to just not suffer the consequences. Usually it resist, for example, or can't be chosen.
Right.
Or, can't be hit until end of battle, whatever. This one is I can be hit, but nothing happens. So
which is still procs on hit effects. But it will not die. So if you care about keeping the cards on board. And so the deck classically had a problem with just keeping units alive. Basically, if you played against something that could kill a bunch of stuff, Gravidia, for example, you were in a rough spot just because you couldn't really keep things around, and you eventually get washed by Gravidia, right? Just completely drowned. We saw it with some ability to recur in the new set, and then they also got this new boss unit, Spirit of Sword, Yo Asakura, that can only be ridden on the something with Yo Asakura in its name. So you could play the old one, the ride deck or something, and then ride the new one if you want, or whatever. Just to give yourself more options to do that. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, this one can only be ridden from a grade 3.
Yeah, it is a grade 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to ride it from another grade 3, right?
Yeah.
Who's on first? Yeah.
Right. So, and then it has when placed, it gets power plus 10,000, crit plus 1. And it has the same effect that, you can eat a Amidamaru, but your front row now gets 10k. And if they would attack, it battles all of your opponent's units in a column.
A column? That's pretty cool.
Every single unit you get attacks the column in front. Attacks the column it attacks.
Some decks will just crumple to that completely.
So it gets 10k in a crit, right? And an additional 10k to your front row. So this is at 20 or 33 in a crit. And then, if it does not hit, you can restand it.
And it'll swing in a column again.
Right. Probably your opponent's Vanguard again, if I had to guess. But that's pretty sweet, actually.
That is.
It's definitely a lot of power. But I guess it does require seeing a second version of this one. Or, the first version of this one. But that's not any different than most grade 4 decks, right?
Yep.
I don't know if it's as powerful as some of the grade 4 decks, but it definitely seems like it has something going on for sure. So you're basically revolving around, putting this thing in back row center, and then kind of recoup. Every time they try to kill it, you just rebuy it basically. So you are stacking a booster, so that's why you kind of get a lot of power, I guess. But your columns are pretty large. Yeah. Getting up to 28 just off the grade 2 alone. But I think this card's pretty good actually, and with the idea that it might restand if it doesn't hit. can force a lot of guard out of your opponent if you can get enough damage early.
Yeah, there's that psychological factor of, you know.
Because even the grade 2 thing, if you just call it early and just battle for like 12k, right? Which is not the worst. Your opponent's going to attack it at grade 2, and you're just going to like Soul Blast 1 and be like, okay. So it's like a pretty effective early beater. But this seems solid to me.
It is. I think there's also that surprise factor of, much like us,
nobody reads these goddamn cards.
Yeah, what the hell is Monster Strike? What is this real? What's
going on?
Yeah, but
we're never getting Monster Strike in English.
I've played the Monster Strike phone game when it came out in English the first time, or the only time, I guess, which was in like 2013 or 14. It was a long, long time ago.
Oh my God, this is almost a decade ago. That's really funny. I guess it makes sense.
Do you know how the phone game works?
No.
All right, so you get these gods that are like vaguely spherical. Like they're all gods and stuff. Like the one I had was Zeus. And you just like spin them and like shoot them around the screen and they hit things.
Okay.
And the real big thing about Monster Strike is you could play it with your friends.
Is
that
it
was
like,
supposed to be like the big pull of it?
When you say like spinning around and hit things, is it like a protect the castle type deal or like a...
No, imagine like, what's the way to describe this? So imagine like a pinball, but it doesn't have to go particularly anywhere. It's just gonna bounce around and be wherever it is. Yeah, it's bizarre. So you just like you basically slingshot this ball around. It hits a bunch of stuff and then stops somewhere.
Okay.
And then you just do that again.
And you can do that with your friends.
Yeah, you could play with your friends, and so your friends could be using their god balls, and you could knock a bunch of shit around. And they had special abilities because of course they do.
Right.
Yeah, but it was a gotcha game, so you had to roll for your god ball.
Right.
Or whatever they were called.
Or pay for your god ball.
Yeah, or pay a lot of money. Yeah. And like I played Puzzle and Dragons at the time, which is another like gotcha phone game.
I remember you playing Puzzle and Dragons. Yeah.
But no, I couldn't really get into Monster Strike. I was like, this game's lame, so I just didn't really play it.
Gotcha. Game.
And now it's dead, and we're probably never getting it in English.
Yeah, it died like pretty quickly. Like I want to say like a year and a half or something like that after it came out in English, and it just died. And so we're no longer supporting this.
Begs the question of why it became a clan.
Monster Strike is
popular in Japan.
Correct. Monster Strike is still incredibly popular in Japan.
I see. Okay.
So they made a Monster Strike. I want to say they might have made a Monster Strike Dominion clone. Who knows? But they definitely made a pad one. There's definitely a Toho Dominion clone. But no, Monster Strike is still incredibly popular in Japan. So it makes sense for a Japanese company to make a Monster Strike, like if they want to do like a collab. However, it doesn't make sense for us at all. But Shaman King is probably the perfect thing that you can kind of push on to people around here.
It's probably got a nostalgia factor. Like the 4Kids dub came out when my generation, I guess, like me and Atlas were like kids. So
I was too old for it, so that's why I'd never known. I didn't know shit about Shaman King. I was already too old.
I don't know.
Yeah, the first dub would come out when like me and Atlas were kids, so like our generation would have a lot of nostalgia for it.
What's the show about anyway? Can anybody give me like a quick rundown of this show?
I never saw it. I just watched Yu-Gi-Oh! And
Ghosts.
Okay. All right. So wait, let me try to guess here. These people are all like exorcist type people who have to deal with these ghosts. However, shenanigans occur, and then there's like some evil forces spawning more ghosts or some shit.
Not necessarily.
Dang.
Like they partner with their ghost dudes. That's why.
Oh.
That's why the oversoul mechanic is a thing. They're merging their power with the ghosts that they
I see. So the samurai guy is his ghost.
Yes.
Gotcha. I understand now.
See,
and so everyone has their own Pokemon, and they go around fighting other people with their Pokemon. And merging with their Pokemon to fight better against the other person with them, who I assume also merges with their Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they use that to watch yokai out. It was like...
And also there was like a tournament or something. I haven't watched Shaman King in decades.
There's always a tournament arc.
People love tournament arcs. Yeah. Love them. Honestly, the Dark Tournament in Yu Yu Hakusho was nuts. That was good shit.
I'm watching. I'm rewatching Vanguard G right now.
Condolences.
As you may have noticed from our Twitter these past couple of weeks, but
our timeline is split between me musing on random old cards and Atlas talking about the anime.
Yeah, and I just freaking hate how much they misplay, and like it's different with the whole. Okay, they didn't have this card yet, or they haven't shown this card yet. That's fine, but it's stuff like someone guarding with more cards than they need to. And then be like, damn, I'm out of cards on the next turn. And I'm like, guys.
They didn't cheat.
You can't be that stupid. Like,
sure you can.
It's either that or they go into, like, not the optimal play.
Because it's
You
new.
mean the entire Luard?
Yeah, because it's new.
Or just, like, basically everything Shion does. It's like not the optimal play.
Well, yeah, because the point of the show is not to make optimal plays; it's to show you new shiny cards.
New cards. Yeah, but like even when it's old cards, it's still like,
yeah. Who cares?
Stupid.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched any of the new Vanguard anime. People are like, "Oh, it's really good," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's great." I just cannot. The first season of Overdress, I thought, was really, really bad.
I think everyone agrees with you that the first season sucked.
So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't care how much the second season got better or whatever. I'm done. Mm-hmm. Look, they had a whole season to try to get me on board, and they messed it up. So
yeah,
that's not my fault.
Mm-hmm. How many episodes do you give a TV show before you just go?
An anime?
An anime typically 3.
Yeah, 3 is the absolute minimum. But usually I'll try to give it at least one core if it's like a longer running show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To like make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't make something happen in 13 episodes, I'm kind of done.
And
I say make something happen, but what I really mean is I want you to make me care, because I am perfectly content to watch anime where nothing happens.
Yeah,
like I love Lucky Star, and nothing happens in that show.
Correct.
It's
Admittedly,
great.
It's very hard to make you care about stuff. Like
it's not. It's just like the. What am I saying here? Overdress, like, particularly doesn't even care about its own events. So why would I care about them?
That's true. Yeah.
Like you just have like things that happen and then are just never talked about again. And you're like, so that never happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredibly frustrating. It's like, okay, so that was inconsequential. And it just feels like it's wasting your time.
Right.
But no, I think the Yo Asakura deck is seems pretty interesting. It has lots of ways to maintain advantage in a deck that wants to be more aggressive. It does have a 4th attack with a large Vanguard swing, which is quite nice. You're out of a drive, I think, but that's not too bad. And it's a lot of power to your front row. So
yeah.
Although you are giving up Persona Ride by doing the cross ride with this.
True, but you can Persona Ride the next turn.
Yeah, you could.
If you're still alive. Could you imagine Persona riding with the restand? You're like 43k in a crit twice, and then your front row has plus 20, plus whatever. That'd be pretty sick.
That's one of
that does seem pretty sick.
That's one of the tragedies of Vanguard, is seeing something that's so cool or like such a neat ability, and they're like, but the earliest you can feasibly pull this off is like turn 5, and you're like, yeah, sorry about that.
It's not unheard of for D games to go that long, because if both players draw reasonably like mediocrely, and people get some triggers on damage, you're probably going to turn 5 anyway.
Yeah, I've had games go that long. My game against Zorga during PRO went that long because they just never found the second prison dragon. We
played games that went to like 8 turns. And we were like, please. Someone died.
No, but I mean like even back in like V and premium games too. Like there are just stuff that seems good or is good, but it's too slow.
You know those games of like any card game where like both players kind of brick, and so the game is just the slowest, like most grueling game it could possibly be.
Yes,
it's so funny.
I know, right?
It's a tragedy.
Well,
so that's
USPS will confirm shipping on my trial deck. I might have to do that on Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, I'm picking up a Youth Burk one, by the way. If you want it, I'm just taking the Sentinel thing out. If you want the whole TD, I can just mail it to you.
I mean, I only bought the trial deck for like review purposes. Whenever the post office confirms my shipping.
Gotcha. Well, I'll just hit Richard up. He's always doing Cater Sanctuary stuff. Anyway,
I assume he just has it already.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Nexus at the Nexus Core Twitter is like teasing it for their Patreon.
Yeah, but also just like in general, he has like 80,000.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, cool. My TD isn't coming until Monday. I guess I'm just gonna do this video with a regular ass deck.
Oof. And then what's the second one? Is this still
the other top? So I will say that both of the decks that were in top 8 of Toronto did lose in their top 8 match.
Okay.
And did not make top 4. But I think it's interesting that they were they performed as well nonetheless. So the other deck that topped involved this Tau Ren individual, who has an Oversoul with this Basson. Who's Basson? I don't know any of these characters' names. I'm just figuring out as I go.
Yeah.
Warlord. Okay. Well, this guy looks cool actually.
It does look pretty cool.
Oh, so this is the edgy character, I presume.
Yes, this is the rival character.
Hell yeah. All right. So this is the character I presume everyone really liked. All right. I like the little like ghost form of his guy. I think it's pretty cute. He looks really angry, but he has like no form and a really tiny head. All right. So this one has an Oversoul. Again, eat a rear guard with the required name. Retire all of your opponent's front row rear guards, and this unit gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. If you retired 1 or less, your opponent chooses a card from their hand and discards it. And then an auto on Van, when this unit's attack hits, search your deck to 1 grade 3 or greater card with Tau Ren in its card name, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So this card can immediately snag, its other one. So I assume that he also got Super Bushin Tau Ren. So this card can only be written on a Tau Ren. So if you had the old one and you hit with it, you get this one, which I assume nobody read. And then when it's placed on Van, you search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 or greater card with Tau Ren in its card name, put it in your hand, so you can even get itself. Oh no. And actually, do you even play the old one? Who knows? And then Oversoul, you eat a rear guard, choose your opponent's rear guards, retire them, and this unit gets plus 10,000 for every 5 cards in your drop. This one seems pretty substantially less good than the other one, at least at a base reading. Is that agreeable?
Yeah, that sounds.
I guess if you can make the game go longer, then you can.
So the Basson card we saw was when your grade 3 or greater Tau Ren is placed on Van. If you have no units with Basson's card name, you can call this card to read. Oh, so you get this Basson unit back for free. But it is only an 8K grade 1, but it is a free card nonetheless. But I wonder what the payoff here is. I'm not familiar with this deck. I found some like the Yoa Sakura deck is one that we've seen before. So I was not terribly surprised about that one in particular. But yeah, I'm not quite sure.
All right, they had a ghost horse. I forgot about that.
A ghost horse?
Yeah.
Calyrex, Grim Nay, Ghost Horse.
When it attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, if you Vanguard with Horo or... Oh, no, this is the rear guard support. Choco Love? That's a great name.
Oh, yeah, Choco Love.
Who's this person? Oh, my gosh.
Dude, Choco Love.
Is this part of the Rivals team? That's pretty funny.
Yes.
That's cool. What is it with making... sometimes they just make the rival characters just have cooler people. What's up with that?
But in this case, like, I believe his team is a pair of comic relief characters.
Hell, no, that's the best kind.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wait, let me go to his list of support cards here. I think that's going to be our...
meal ticket.
Let's see here. So if you have a unit with Tau Ren in its card name, choose a Basson in your card name from your soul. Okay, so you can call Basson back out. And it gets power plus 10,000, crit plus 1. And if you wrote it this turn, or if you did the Oversoul this turn, you choose that opponent's rear guard and retire it.
Okay.
So, in that case, so you can retire an extra rear guard, get the Basson back, and it becomes a 18k crit 2 beater. That's not the worst.
Looks like it.
Then you have this card that was one that's placed on rear. If you have a grade 3 with Tau Ren, look at top 5, grab a Tau Ren or Horo. Okay. If you don't reveal countercharge 1, sure. And then this card, and then you get power, but this card seems like it's kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
And who's this last individual? So,
Yeah,
this card's actually pretty good because it gets a lot of shield.
Mm-hmm.
Units that get shield are pretty rare, and it's a 15k beater. But this deck seems... It has some interesting stuff going on, but I think overall it seems weaker to me.
Yeah, I'm like trying to look at Japanese lists to see if I can figure out anything with this, but it seems like they just play a lot of more generic cards.
Oh, they have this horse. This horse seems quite good. So you know how... So the grade 3 destroys the entire front row, right? So that means the horse kind of becomes an 18k beater. I see. Yeah, this is the list I have a lot less knowledge about.
Yeah, let me
because
see.
we've seen the Asakura one like many times.
Drop.
Yeah, so I guess they can if you blow up the front row, call out the Basson, and then you boost it with this horse, and so you have a 36k horse or 38k crit 2 Basson.
That's pretty good.
I think that's the play. It seems kind of one note to me.
I'm looking at like Japanese lists that have topped, and it seems like they were not playing the horse.
Really?
Oh,
what are they doing then?
I have no fucking clue.
Very cool. Well, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
there
are actually a lot of fucking cards.
Oh, for Tauren?
No, just for like Shaman King in general. I'm trying to find like what I assume is some of the more generic cards.
Yeah, I could not tell you what the generic cards are. I know nothing about this series.
I'll if I remember, I'll put a link to the topping deck profile that Fuzzy Paradox posted under.
Oh, sure, chart. Yeah.
Because
yeah, no, definitely give them a shout out.
Yeah, for A for the view, and B because like we have no idea what we're talking about. But
we have no fucking clue.
I've only heard of the one deck. I didn't even know that people played the Tauren deck.
Yeah,
I thought there was only the one out of the set. But I guess I
also heard people saying thing about Lysurg.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Morphia gets power plus 1,000, so check for an order, reveal, put it in your hand. Put it into your trigger zone and put the rest at the bottom of your deck.
So basically, instead of a regular like drive check, you just look at your top 2 and choose one for your drive check.
Oh, interesting. And then, okay, so you get power for every trigger unit with this card. Oh, and you draw a card?
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of...
interesting.
What is it? Ezel Scissors? No, Platin Ezel from V.
Gotcha.
But yeah, did we have a deck list for the Tauren that topped in Toronto?
There was no deck list.
Okay.
I was just kind of like... I was just interested in the set because like I was like, you know, I've seen like a couple things here and there like from set 1, but it's all seemed pretty bad. And so to see it come after set 2 was quite surprising.
Which leads me to the question: do you think it's worth it to talk about these kinds of sets? Like to the listener, because we've skipped over all of them.
I think. In my opinion, my humble opinion, you can agree or disagree. I'm pretty willing to only talk about these sets when they come relevant, but it might be worth just taking a peek at them when they come out. At least not, you know, maybe not doing like a full thing, but at least looking at the bosses at least, just to be like, what do these cards even do? Because like I only know what like one Record of Ragnarok card does. I think.
Don't look at me, man. That's
I know exactly one archetype from Record of Ragnarok because I played against it on stream.
That was so sick. That game was
funny.
That game was an actual disaster.
Oh, yes, it was.
That's where you couldn't find the second arm the whole time, right?
Yeah.
I just kind of won by triggers.
Yeah, your opponent must have been upset.
I would have been livid if I was the opponent.
They were pretty cool about it because they just wanted to like do their thing and show off.
They were playing Record of Ragnarok on stream, which is an amazing achievement. And you had this SP'd out I can't pronounce it.
Bob Sagra.
Yeah.
The worst part was like I was considering like perfect guarding the crit when I took the first spear on damage, so I would have drawn it the next turn.
Yeah, well, you know, is what it is.
What I coulda, shoulda.
I always thought you might take it just to not be at 1 billion damage. Because you were at 3 or 4 already, or you were at 3, I think. And then you took the spear again as the 4th.
Yeah.
And I was like, but it's okay. Because you took spear on damage, right? Like 2 in a row?
Yeah. That
was so sad.
It really was.
Do they ever upload those VODs?
I think they're in the process of it. We haven't gotten the standard one yet.
Incredible. I feel like it was so long ago. It should have been up forever ago, but what do I know?
Yeah, they have They have like the premium Swiss. They don't have anything else yet.
So it could be there next week. Who knows?
Yeah.
Everyone should check out that disaster. Match. It's incredibly funny. If once the VOD goes up, I highly recommend checking out that match. It is something else. It's one of those matches where you're just like, please.
Let me know. I'll put it in the the show notes / description afterward. But one more thing I wanted to look at before we.
Sure. You left. Can take this off now, right?
Yeah, we can take that off and then put this up instead.
What's this?
So not that. Mexico's top 8 for V Premium. So you had 3 Royal Paladin, 2 Gear Chronicle, a Gold, a Shadow, and a Nova Grappler.
Okay.
You will notice that we've been keeping an eye on Gear Chronicle, which has pretty consistently gotten about 4 of 8 top 8 spots in a lot of these. And here, it's only 2, or it's only 2 of them, and then going into the top 8 or top 4, it's none of them. It's Jewel Knights, Revengers, Nova Grappler, and then Alt Mile of all things.
I mean, I guess
the Alt Mile is pretty wacky. Everything else I could reasonably see topping.
Right. But in a lot of people on Twitter were saying that a lot of Mexican players' strategy against Gear Chronicle is to make decks that pop off on turn 3.
I mean, that's a pretty good strat.
Yeah.
It's just win the die roll, and Raging Form can do that, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
And so can... If they were playing Ashley Reverse, they could just force 2, lock 3, big number, Sentinel Restrict with a crit.
I don't know what Alt Mile does. I don't even remember what V Alt Mile does.
So if you have seen my deck profile where my belly is in the thumbnail, I apologize to everyone who's disgusted by that. But
I saw the thumbnail. I'll tell you that.
What?
I saw the thumbnail. I'll tell you that.
You're welcome. Aerial Alt Mile's effect is while you have all face down damage, all your grade 2s get 10k power, 5k shield, and then if you've got another Alt Mile in Soul, he gets a crit. All the grade 2s get crits. So if you stack that with Force 2s, everything is hitting for 2-3 damage.
I'm not gonna lie, I legitimately forgot they gave the GV cards a second wave.
Yeah, that was very strange. But that's kind of the strategy of how my premium build works, is that you try and just punch their lights out before they really can do much.
And then if they get enough triggers on damage, you just die.
Yeah, or just pressure them, right? Because they're I'm at 3 damage, everything's hitting for 3 damage. I can't take any of these. Fuck.
The ragey approach.
Yeah, pretty much.
For those who don't know, back in Limit Break era, you could play Bladewing Raichi, who, if you had 15 or so more cards, or 13 or 15? 15 or more cards in Soul, would get 2 crit. So you'd swing for 3 crit, no power every turn.
Yeah. So they're this is back in Limit Break. You need 4 more damage to do stuff. So
you just keep whacking him with this 13k, or it was 23k 3 crit, and they have to just drop 2 cards to guard it to not die.
Yeah.
So, what a crappy deck.
Yeah, the Reiji approach. So that's what appears to be the strategy of choice. Now, people were hoping that they would hit Steam Maidens on the ban list that came out a few weeks ago, and they didn't. And my theory on that is because a Steam Maiden card is the championship promo, and I don't think I want to hit.
Also, the set came out a month before, and last time they banned a card a week after it came out, it didn't go very well.
I have a probably more plausible theory about Vanguard ban lists, is that they're all delayed a month and a half or 2 months.
True.
They would have been a good ban list a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they just do it anyway, and then we're at this now different format, and we're
Oh, they're oh shit, that didn't go out yet. Oh man, we should have done that. Okay, hit send anyway.
Yeah, they're just like, fuck it, run it. That's my more plausible theory for the Vanguard panel.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I mean,
this
I'm perfectly happy to
like...
say goodbye to like Percival and Coutier regardless.
Oh yeah, Coutier, shoot that thing, yeah.
Do you think this idea of like deck building is going to be enough to keep Steam Maidens in check, or do you think they?
It might just require Steam Maiden players to not. So Steam Maiden was a very easy to play deck. You could just kind of like jam cards on the table. But if people are kind of like actually like fighting specifically Steam Maiden or like going out of their way to like target that deck, the Steam Maiden players are going to have to improve. I mean, I think the deck is quite powerful still. It's just we'll take some adjustments from the Steam Maiden players and we'll see where they're at. Yeah. Not like Gear Chronicle has like a lack of cards.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna say this is like a fluke, but just like a deck being strong doesn't mean it's unbeatable, right? Like it will lose.
Yeah, the issue and when you should ban things or when things are kind of warping. So if something is warping a metagame, even if it's not like the best deck, but like the entire like metagame revolves around, or even like the best like thing to be doing necessarily, if it's like warping an entire metagame around it, it's probably should be like, I mean, Magic has had this happen multiple times with like Oko, which is like, oh yeah, there are decks that can beat Oko. But, and that wasn't even true to be honest, but like, even if you could, even people who pretended there were, they're like, decks like, okay, that's still not a reasonable thing because the entire format now revolves around this card.
Yeah.
And that card ended up being banned in every format.
And of course, like, as a deck becomes very prominent and people like learn the matchup, like, of course people are going to adapt to it, right?
Yeah, even just making different card choices as well. Like where you can.
So that there's that like weird line between what is meta warping and what is people improving to adapt to the meta, or it becomes like a gatekeeper, right?
I think in premium, if you look at decks like the Mystery Flare deck, that deck was like actually toxic. Even though it wasn't necessarily like the most consistent or whatever deck, the deck was just like, the deck was just completely uninteractive. And so like you're forced to basically play in a metagame where this exists and be able to like take, do something about it, but like just hope it, and just like it's just like that's like warping, right? Because you're basically like, I need to play something that can kill this thing. However, I'm also like hoping it bricks when I see it.
Yeah, getting another turn isn't something you could be like solemn judgment,
Yeah, there's no, you can't negate that. Where's my Sprite Red?
Red isn't even like the best deck
right now.
Yeah,
in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, I would say Tears is.
Tier limit?
Yeah,
probably. That deck got very vaguely hit by the ban list, and Sprite got more hard hit. But I think they're both still pretty good.
Yeah. But like Tears is also getting like new support that's going to make them very powerful.
I mean, the answer is probably just Mystic Mine, right?
Runic Mystic Mine, let's go.
I do think the Runic Sprite is also quite interesting.
Yeah.
Nexus at Night, the Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. Been a while since
It's also funny
that go that far.
Also funny they're like 4 Yu-Gi-Oh archetypes that are just like, played interchangeably in different decks. It's pretty great.
And the adventure begins again. All right.
No, adventure is less played now.
Yeah, adventure got banned.
Shut up. Okay. Thanks everybody for listening. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell your friends. At Nexus at Night on Twitter, Instagram. Thank you, Darren, Cole, Josh, Jeremy, GR for being $10 patrons. Matt's merch, all that stuff is in the description. Where can they find us?
Find me on Twitter at Wiggums, 2Gs, 2Zs.
Find me at Plasma Eclipse.
Find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram, or my other podcast at Generation Dan on Twitter, Generation_Dan on Instagram. I'm a stand-up comedian. I do shows all the time. Keep an eye on my Twitter for that. I'm also coming to Cleveland at the end of November, so if you're in the Cleveland area, that's happening. That's pretty cool. Nice. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm still Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
I'm going to kill you both, and have a good night.